Did I hit 405? That is the question. If you're watching this video, I most likely hit 405. But if I didn't, then you're probably not watching this video because I have failed. And you know how the internet works. We don't show failures, we only show success. I did not hit 405. So this whole video, you're just gonna have to disregard everything I say because I failed.
I am sorry, my mentor. I have failed you.
I'm still gonna post the rest of the video, you know? I mean, this is what I've been doing for the last 10 months. I didn't hit 405, but it's something. So, you know, I just take everything from here on out with like a grain of salt. You know, it might work, might not work. Obviously, it didn't work for me. I think it got me pretty close, but not quite there yet. So, but you're watching this video, so I succeeded. All right, moving on. This is my plan to hit 405, or I guess was my plan since you're watching this video and I already hit 405 and I've been training it for the last 9-10-ish months. Anyways, I'm gonna go through the plan of how I got to this point, of how I was able to bench 405. And you probably cannot, you know, I don't know you. I don't know what your genetics are. I don't know how long you've been training or how serious you are or how dedicated you are to getting a 405 bench. So, you know, this is just my plan, what worked for me. To get this baseline started, I am sitting at about 220-ish pounds, 215 to 220, somewhere around there. I've been training for 7 years. I've been in some sort of athletic activity for probably 12, 13 years. Yeah, since I was 12 years old. So I'm not some dude who just walked into the gym and within his first year he's benching 405. Nah. I will say genetics wise, my triceps are pretty strong and I've been pretty good at bench ever since I started. I don't think first time I tried 225, I got it for 3. And then I got 315 after like, I don't know, three months of like strictly weight training. That's kind of my baseline of my genetics. So you got to keep that in mind. I don't know what you're like. You know, if you're some 100-pound guy, we need to bulk you up first, then we can try 405. Again, baseline. My previous max before this attempt was 375 or 385 pounds. One of those two. It just depends how much the bar weighed. I've never weighed it. I've been told it's 55 pounds, but I always treat it as a 45. So just to be conservative, 375 pounds is my max before training for this. Now that was my max when I was 19. Right now I'm 25. I was 24 when I started training for the 405 bench, like dead on serious. So that's my baseline. I'm trying to add 30 pounds onto my max bench. Now you gotta be realistic with yours. I didn't care how long it was gonna take with mine. I got lucky. You know, it took me 10 months to slap on 30 pounds. And I think that's just part of my genetics again. First time I hit 315 was July of 2018. And then I hit 375 in February of 2019. So I slapped on 60 pounds in about 8-9 months. That's pretty fast, honestly. So right now I'm trying to slap on 30 pounds within, I don't care how long it takes. If it took me a year, it took me a year. But I got it in 10 months. Is that realistic? I have no idea. I just knew that I was training just to basically maintain bodybuilding physique for the last couple years. I haven't really gone strictly into strength training for anything. And not even back then when I was maxing out, you know, 315, 365, 375. I was just kind of like power building. So this time I said, I need to dedicate all of my efforts to getting a 405 bench. All of my upper body workouts are gonna be focused to getting my bench press stronger, and I don't care about anything else. You know, how big my arms are, how big my delts are, how big my back is, how big my legs are. I don't care about any of that. Only thing I'm gonna train is whatever's gonna help me get a bigger bench. That's what I did. So to start off, and I'm gonna try to put it over here, I need to come up with a plan. So this is gonna be my plan. What do I need for a big bench? I need a strong chest. I need strong front delts. I need strong triceps. You need a big, strong back. And, you know, believe it or not, I learned that I needed some strong biceps as well. Not ridiculously, but, you know, they're a stabilizer and coming down on the bench, and I can feel it sometimes. So I need to make sure my biceps can handle stabilizing 405. Other than that, leg training, I can just maintain it, you know? There's not really much that I gotta do. I'm not trying to grow my legs. Bigger legs is not gonna help me have a bigger bench. You know, a good leg drive is gonna help me with that, but I don't necessarily need the biggest legs in the world to do that. So leg training, gonna be put on maintenance mode. Rear delts, I did train rear delts because I need to keep my shoulders healthy. So rear delt training is pretty important. But side delts, I don't need big side delts to press forward in front of me, you know? You know, I don't need big side delts in order to press. So, side delts, you can go on maintenance mode. Forearms, you can go on maintenance mode. Traps, maintenance mode. Calves, maintenance mode. Like everything is just going on maintenance mode. Or, you know, to be honest, these last month and a half, I've completely skipped legs and I haven't trained side delts or forearms or none of that. So a lot of the maintenance mode in this last month I got lazy on and just said, whatever, I don't need it. Beginning of this plan, however long it took, I need to focus on my weak points and I need to figure out what those are. So I need to start benching heavy again. So I started off kind of slow. I was gradually working my way up. I did sets of 6 with my bench press, heavy sets of 6, and I'll show y'all the notebook, or I might even just write the numbers up here. I started off with doing like 255, 265, 275 for sets of 6. That's where I started. So I worked my way up from benching 275 for sets of 6 up to about, I think like 295 for sets of 5. So that's kind of how I worked my way up to that. You know, 275, 285, 295. And it took a while, you know. I started with 255, so 55, 65, 75, 85, 95. That's at least 5 weeks, and I didn't get it every week, you know, gradual progression like that. So you can add on, you know, another 2-3 weeks to everything I did, you know. In general, I did this in like 3 chunks of 3 months phases, which worked out. Heavy benching told me what my weak points were. And at the very beginning, it was my chest and my triceps. So solution for that, I'm doing heavy dips, weighted dips, in order to build up my triceps and my chest. I need that strength. I don't care about the size. I did weighted dips for about 3 months, and I worked up from, you know, doing 70 pounds to 80 to 90. Like I eventually got to 120 pounds for a set of 2 sets of 6 at my strongest. And this is before I recorded all that, so you're just gonna take my word for it. You're gonna have to trust a stranger on the internet for this one. I built up my triceps and my chest using weighted dips. I'm benching heavy the first part of the week, I'm doing weighted dips the second part of the week. After that, I switched my weighted dips to rack presses. So I'd set up the rack and I'd put it like halfway up. So I'd be starting at the bottom of the bench or midpoint, right? I'm pressing up as heavy as I can. I did that in order to strengthen my shoulders and my triceps again. You need big, strong triceps and shoulders. You need an explosive, strong chest. But for this one, we're isolating shoulders and triceps to get those really strong. I did that for about 3 months, and I was able to get up to 405 for pressing real heavy. So, you know, I started off like at 375, 385, and it wasn't really progressing linearly like how my bench days were. But what I focused on was to get stronger at this press from that sticking point up, because I would get stuck in the middle point. And getting off my chest usually, you know, went pretty smooth towards the end. At the beginning of it, it was hard to get it off my chest sometimes. But most of the time, I could lock out things, always. But at the midpoint is where I slowed down a lot or I got stuck. So I need them shoulders stronger. That's where I'm targeting. That's why I'm doing these rack presses. Did that for about 3 months. And then finally, these last 2-3 months, I've been doing shoulder press because I noticed that towards the end again, my shoulders are where it slows down. I wasn't getting stuck anymore, but my shoulders, that midpoint, it slows down a lot. You know, coming off my chest is good, slows down in the middle, and I can lock it out. Solution to get my shoulders stronger, what better thing to do than overhead press? I chose barbell because, you know, I'm focused on bench press, and it just makes sense to me. If I can shoulder press by putting my hands on the same spot where I'm gonna bench press and work on that, then I can get my shoulders stronger where they need to be and how they need to be stronger. My last 2 weeks of heavy training, I was able to PR. I hit 2 plates for the first time on overhead press. And I was doing these seated, and I was starting from the bottom because I want to build as much strength as I can from the bottom. In my head, if I can put myself at that disadvantage of starting at the bottom, then I can work my way up and be stronger when I'm actually having that rubber band effect. That was my plan, to get my chest, shoulders, and triceps overall stronger. Did I do any tricep isolation? Towards the last month and a half, yeah. I was doing really light just to get my deep stretches on your shoulders whenever you're doing tricep extensions. I was just trying to keep my triceps and my elbows. Just trying to keep my elbows healthy. I wasn't trying to get stiff or have any problems. I didn't care about size, so I was doing 2, maybe 3 sets a week of 15 to 20 reps with just like 15-pound dumbbells. Not much. I'm just trying to keep the elbows healthy. Now for my back, and this is what I've done the whole time. So for the last 10 months, I have been doing a hammer strength row and narrow grip pull-ups. You know, that V handle you use on cable rows. I've been doing that for pull-ups on the first day, my first upper body day. Then on my second day, I'm doing pen lay rows and wide grip pull-ups. And that was what I did this whole time. I'm trying to get a strong back with the rows and the pen lays. Trying to build up an explosive and strong lats. And then to get that volume in, but also to, again, just build up strong lats, I was doing pull-ups, but I was exploding as fast as I could to the top and controlling it all the way down. So I was very quick on the way up and very slow on the way down. And I'm coming all the way down. I'm stretching everything out, letting it hang so that I can really build up that explosive lats. That was the plan for the back. For my legs, I was just doing 2 leg days a week at first, then it went down to 1, and then, like I said, I skipped the last month and a half. I still had, that's only 4 days a week, I still had 3 more days to do something. Fridays were usually bicep days. I was hitting biceps pretty good at first, and then I started slacking off at the end in the last 2-3 months. I was hitting them like every other week. But my idea was build up big, strong biceps using a preacher curl machine and dumbbell curls and hammer curls. Realistically, I'm not really building up a whole lot of volume or a whole lot of strength. I'm really just doing it to have strong enough biceps. That's it, strong enough. Not necessarily strong biceps. And that was it. That's 5 workouts a week tops for me. Monday was my heavy bench. Tuesday was my legs. Thursday was my heavy press, whether it was dips at first, rack press, or shoulder press. And then Friday, bicep day. And Saturday was supposed to be leg day. That was it. That's what I've been doing the last 10 months. In addition to heavy presses on Thursdays, I was also doing pause bench the whole time. In some form or fashion, I was doing a pause bench, whether it was 2 plates or 275. My purpose with this was to dial in my technique, make sure my leg drive's there, make sure I'm stable, make sure I know exactly how to move that bar up and down, and to build explosive chest, explosive out of the bottom, because that in the past has always been the hardest part, where I would always get stuck when PRing was getting it off my chest. I'd be too weak to get it off my chest. It would come down real strong, I feel good, and I press, and nothing. Not coming off my chest. That's why I did pause bench this whole time. That was the plan. That is what worked for me. I don't know if it'll work for somebody. You can try this. Of course, you got to get your diet in check. Make sure you're eating plenty of good food, plenty of calories. Make sure your sleep's not horrible. My sleep could have been way better, in my personal opinion. On average, I probably slept 6-7 hours every night this whole time. There was times where I was sleeping like 5 or 6 hours and tired, whatever the reason may be. But you gotta be consistent. I probably hit 90% of my Mondays and Thursdays And then obviously leg days slacked off a lot, biceps slacked off a lot. But my 2 most important days, I always made sure I went there. Hit the gym, put in the work for that. I almost forgot. Another thing, I started taking creatine about 4 months ago. I decided to get real serious. I got me some protein powder, got me an MRE from Redcon, and I got creatine from Redcon. And that's what I've been taking, supplements to help me. Creatine was every day though, and I think it did help because right when I started taking creatine, I got sick for like 4 or 5 days. And that set me back because I was supposed to hit this 405 back in April, but I got sick, and when I came back on that Monday, I'd already had 2 days where I felt really good, so I just worked out like normal. But I ended up injuring myself right about here. I injured the very center point of my pec, right at the sternum. It hurt, man. I didn't notice it during the workout though, because blood's flowing, body's hot, muscles are hot, right? But then Wednesday, 2 days afterwards, my chest felt really weird. So then I didn't go Thursday. I was like, I'll just let it rest. Let it rest it off. Then the following Monday when I tried pressing again, oh man. It only hurt when pressing. It didn't hurt to do a push-up, it didn't hurt to do a dip. It hurt to do a bench press, which is the biggest problem I could have. I let it rest for another week, and then I learned if I want the muscle to heal, I need to be doing a lot of small little movements with it. I need to be benching with very light weight for 20 to 30 reps, you know, just the bar, just the 25, 135 for 15. I did assisted dips. I got on the dip machine that helps, with the weight. I set it up to where my body's like really light. It's like taking off 150 pounds or something like that. And all I'm dipping is 50 pounds, 70 pounds. And I did real deep dips, real deep stretch for like 20 reps every time. I did like 4 sets of that, 4 sets of the bench. And then I couldn't do pull-ups because it hurt to stretch my chest like that too. So I was doing pull downs for sets of 20, 100 pounds, 115 pounds, real light. And I did that for about a month. I was slowly progressing the weight up again, real slow. I didn't want to get hurt again. I got set back a month, but when I came back, I said, I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to rebuild back up because I don't want to get hurt again and then be out even longer with a serious injury. That's why when I came back seriously training, it was about mid-May, and for another month and a half, I've been rebuilding back up to where I was because I was really close to going for that 405 attempt back in April. So I just took that time and I just started all over in that block. Started again mid-May. 2 weeks of May, June, and now by the time you see this video, it'll be July. Went for it on June 30th. That was my scheduled date. It's another big thing. You gotta set a date for whenever you wanna hit your PR. Because if you don't, you're not really training as hard as you can because you don't have a deadline. You're just gonna keep pushing it off. And that's what I was doing before. So when I decided last summer that I want to hit a 405, my original goal was I need to hit a 405 by December, by the end of the year of 2024. That didn't happen. I was getting close to it and I was like, nah, it's not gonna happen. It's too soon. So I moved it to April on my birthday. And I was gonna get there. I was pretty confident with it. But again, it didn't happen. I got sick, life happens. You just gotta adapt and reset again. Now, I said, all right, sometime in June, I was trying to decide when. I was feeling really strong at the beginning of June, but I decided to give myself 4 more weeks, for the whole month to prep for it. June 30th was my day. The week before, the week of June 23rd, I looked up Dr. Mike Israetel. Love his channel. He's very smart. I looked up to see if he had anything on how to peak for strength. So I remember seeing some videos, some thumbnails about it. Looked it up, and I like the idea. It made a lot of sense to me, and I trust Dr. Mike. Monday, today, I'm going to do about 70% of 405. I think for 5 reps, focusing a lot on technique. That's what I'm gonna do tonight. Do some bodyweight pull-ups, not even explosive. I'm just gonna go in there, get the movement going. Thursday, I think he said 50% of the 1 rep max that you're going for. That would be about 200 pounds. I'm gonna load up 200 pounds on Thursday. Probably do 5-6 reps, maybe 8 at most. Not even, probably 5 reps. Just dialing in that technique and getting mentally prepared. Rest Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe I'll hit some biceps Friday, real light biceps, but I'm resting this week. That way on Monday, June 30th, I'm gonna peak and I'm gonna hit that 405. This has been a goal of mine. This is kind of a stepping goal because my life goal is to bench 500 pounds once in my life. That's a lifetime goal for me. I don't care how strong or weak I am on deadlifts or squats or shoulder press. If I can one day hit 500 pounds on a bench press, dude, I would say my gym career has been fulfilled. But I want to get as strong as I can before I get any coaching or get on any powerlifting program or anything. I want to see how strong I can get on my own using good technique and good things I learned over the years and through YouTube and through, you know, all these really smart individuals that you can find on YouTube. I want to build that baseline as high as I can first, and then I'm gonna throw in, you know, powerlifting techniques, powerlifting programming, coaching if I need to, if I'm getting real close up there. Before I use those resources, I'm gonna get as high as I can first. For now, it's gonna be that 405 bench. And after that, after this 405 bench, I'm gonna go bodybuilding mode. I'm gonna bulk up for a year. And then we'll see what we do from there. But that's it. That's the plan. That's what happened. That's what I did. That's how I prepped. This is how I got to a 405 bench. If you're similar to where I am at, you're in the mid 300s bench press, you're about the same, you know, weight, you probably can follow this plan and see if it works. But maybe it won't work. I'm not guaranteeing anything. But this is just one way to train for a 405 bench. Because it worked for me doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. But that doesn't mean that you can't bench 405. Only you can find that out. What you gotta do is you gotta strength train specifically for a heavy bench press. You can't just go in the gym and be doing everything you want. You can't be training as a bodybuilder and as a powerlifter and as a strongman or none of that. You gotta pick one. If you really wanna be the best at that one thing, the way you want to, you gotta pick one thing and put all your focus on it. After this, I'm gonna go into bodybuilding, and I don't care how strong or weak I am. I'm gonna go strictly bodybuilding. My goal is to get as big as I can. Get my muscles as big as they can be. So it doesn't matter how much I can bench, squat, deadlift, press, curl, it doesn't matter. How big are the muscles? You gotta be able to shift your focus onto your goal and dedicate your time, energy, and resources to getting that goal. It's the only way you're gonna really achieve a goal in a fulfilling way. Because if you hit a goal on accident, it doesn't feel as good. It's not as fulfilling. You didn't really put attention, time, effort, you didn't put resources into it. That's just a little bit of advice from my personal opinion, from my personal brain of how to work towards the goal. Oh yeah, you still haven't seen the 405 bench yet.
Push, push, push. Get it.
Yeah. Was close. We got it off my chest, and then that's as far as I got. So back to the drawing board. I'm gonna try again in a month, but by the time you watch this video, I will have already tried it. So then you'll find out on the next video if I did or not. So that's how I'm gonna work this out. I'm gonna do some sort of like time travel stuff, you know? Hopefully you took some knowledge out of this. Hopefully it helps you out in some way or form with your own training. I'll check back in once I actually hit 405. So that's gonna be the video. All right, so y'all be safe and God bless.